All right, and welcome back to Rock Video Rental. I am Caleb, and with me, as always, is Brandon. And here it is, the end of January. Already a month has gone by in 2021, and we are wrapping up Karate Kid month. We've reviewed the 4 original movies. This is going to be kind of the movie series review where we discuss all of them together a little bit, but we're also going to include a short discussion, somewhat of the Cobra Kai show that is currently on Netflix, and we're going to discuss that too before the end of the episode. So, Brandon, it's been a long span since we watched the first movie, but it's a good thing that the first movie is the one that we probably watched the most, so we're the most familiar with it. But 4 movies in, first kind of takeaways. I think there's not going to be a lot of shocking revelations, as we've both been in pretty fair agreement. And also, I kind of think anybody that I've ever talked to kind of feels the same, that this series started off so strong and then, steadily
Ended like a fart in the wind.
faded away. So, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of sitting here and looking at the posters for each movie, and it's just kind of interesting to take in the whole thing. And I do have to say, Mr. Miyagi, when you think of Karate Kid, do you think of Mr. Miyagi or do you think of, Daniel?
I think of Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, so
And
do
no,
I.
I don't know, Daniel's the main character, at least in the original trilogy, but uh I don't know. I think it's just because Pat Morita had such a unique look.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one else looked like him, and I don't know. I feel like he's just the heart and soul of the series. And that's probably why they decided to make a fourth one without Daniel.
Yeah.
Without Ralph Macchio.
I think that that's definitely fair to say. And yeah, I mean, even though it's called the Karate Kid, I mean, you can't have the Karate Kid without the instructor, and he is definitely the cornerstone or the foundation of this whole thing. So, yeah, I would lean to thinking of Mr. Miyagi more as well. I mean, not only is he in all 4 movies, but also, I mean, he is just super consistent. And I know that was part of the growth process with how Daniel. I feel like he changed a little drastically from the first movie to the third movie, but each one a little bit of a change, and you could see some growth and everything. But
Yeah.
Mr. Miyagi was always the constant factor. So,
Yeah, he was always the kind of the steady figure.
hmm so what's I guess let's talk about highlights. What are some of the things that are your favorite from these movies that you're always gonna remember or always gonna enjoy the most?
I think some of my favorite things, even just throughout the whole series, is the relationship between Daniel and Mr. Miyagi,
Hmm.
and just the chemistry that Pat Morita and Ralph Macchio had. And it was obvious that they had great respect for each other, and it was in real life they even had kind of that mentor apprentice relationship where Ralph Macchio greatly respected Pat Morita for everything he did with his career, and everything he was as a person, and just everything that goes on in the movie between those two, or all the movies actually, just like the life lessons, the growth and the change in character with Daniel, and the steadiness of Mr. Miyagi to kind of bring him back down to earth when he has more hectic moments.
Rock. Yeah. No, I think that's probably the. I mean, outside of the characters, that is probably the biggest thing in common between all these movies is that mentorship quality. And I mean, even through all four movies, I mean, Mr. Miyagi is the teacher in the fourth one as well, even though Daniel's not there. And so, yeah, that is
Right.
one thing that they carry through the whole thing. Um, I mean, you talk about, the life lessons. One of my favorite things, I don't know if you were kind of pairing this or combining this with those other lessons, but, I always enjoyed the karate lessons, which combined with the other lessons, like he turns into a life lesson, but specifically kind of like the karate technique, training methods. That's something that nobody's going to forget from the first one because of how big of a factor it was. And so I mentioned it in one of the reviews, but that was kind of the disappointing thing that you saw fade away after the first movie because I thought it was such a big um, part of it. Like it was an anchor for the movie. It gave more content to the movie, and it was interesting and entertaining. And it was a steep drop off from part one to part two. Part three picked up the training a little bit again, but then the next Karate Kid, it was almost non-existent, which is kind of
Yeah.
crazy. But um, one thing that I've come to have more, not to say I didn't appreciate it originally, but I kind of feel like stands out more to me and I wish was maybe more of an element in the other three movies was the karate tournament.
Hmm.
Because and we'll talk about more later, but because with watching Cobra Kai, it really got me back into, seeing the correlation between it and enjoying, more of the actual fighting. Um, and just kind of realizing that it was such a big part in the first one. And even though it came back in part three, it was like brushed to the side. Oh, Daniel only has to have one fight. So they
Yeah.
did next to nothing with it. So I was really glad to see that they did stuff with that in the show, which obviously makes sense. So, but
Yeah. And with the third one, I wish they would have showed more of Mike's fights, kind of just like plowing through all the guys. And just, I think that would have added more to like his character too, just to show how dominant he really was.
hmm
And then make him seem like a bigger threat to Daniel at the end as well.
yeah, I I agree. I think that would have been worked out well because yeah, in the last three movies, as I was kind of saying, there was a lot of downtime and they needed some, and it seemed like they were stretching it to add some filler stuff. And it's just like, focus more on the training and like some of the actual fighting, the stuff that you think of when you think of Karate Kid. So it was interesting. It was odd and unfortunate to see them go that route. But um, any other highlights right off the top of your head, or did you want to keep moving along?
Um, I don't know, just like even the interactions between, the characters, aside from Mr. Miyagi, um, like, especially in the first one, the interactions with Daniel and Johnny, just they feel genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was missed, in the second one, maybe just a little bit in the third one. I'd say definitely. I've Man, especially in the next Karate Kid. Like I said when we watched that I feel like uh, Hilary Swank is a better actor than Ralph Macchio, and Ralph Macchio would say that.
Yeah.
Uh, maybe not at the time when they made that movie, but she showed promise of her acting ability in that.
Yeah.
Uh, and I feel like that was greatly kind of lost in that movie because the dialogue was so bad, and the interactions with her, and I can't even remember the guy's name who was supposed to be like the bad guy. Was it like Steve or
N-
something, or
Was it
Stu, or I don't know.
Ned?
Ned, yeah, short
Okay.
Ned, Kip, Ned, something. But yeah, I feel like that was really lacking in the fourth one.
Hmm.
Uh, and I mean Martin Cove, another part of the series that I just enjoy because he just hams it up as John Kreese.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and him being reoccurring and everything was pretty interesting. And I know it wasn't immediately, one movie picked up right where the other one left off. They kind of would do recaps and everything, but I mean, the first three were like back to back to back to back. Maybe not when they came out, but as far as the story goes, and yeah, to have the reoccurring characters was nice. And I one thing that stood out to me, and I think it actually was on purpose, and it helped to emphasize the relationship between Daniel and Mr. Miyagi. But I mean, Daniel finds um, always finds a girl to have as a friend or have as a love interest, but then he never has a friend that's a guy.
Yeah.
Like no attempt at that whatsoever. And I thought it was weird, and I was like, man, maybe they should have done with some with that. But I mean, again, I think just that strength in the bond of him and Mr. Miyagi. But that was kind of a thing that stood out to me.
Yeah, that's something I've heard mentioned before. Like Daniel's only friend is like an elderly Japanese man. Um, oh, I guess he had Freddie Fernandez, wasn't that his name? Or Freddie Rodriguez or something like that. The kid he meets at the beginning of the first movie, who quickly bails on him after he gets beat up by Johnny.
Oh yeah. Well, they tried hanging out as friends, and then they were just like, ah, screw this guy.
He is like, this guy's a punk.
So yeah. Anyways, interesting side note there. But I think something that we've already alluded to a little bit is the disappointing parts.
Yeah.
So obviously, plenty that could be mentioned about the next Karate Kid.
Mm.
I don't even really want to begin there just because there's like
It's
so
low
much.
fruit.
Yes. That's like the easy way out.
Yeah.
Um, but I already talked about it. Probably my first thing that I would say is disappointing is how they got away from the training.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to talk about that again, but is there something for you that was kind of like the thing of this movie series that bummed you out the most?
Um, I guess. Oh man, I don't.
Maybe not
Yeah.
bummed you out the most. That's kind of like a big question. So just like
Yeah.
something that stood out to you, that what the thing that comes to mind that sticks out to you, like that was a disappointment. So not to put that big thing of being this is the thing,
Yeah.
but I guess something that was disappointing to you.
I guess we talked about it with the third one, how the tournament, Danny only has to fight one fight. Well, that's fair enough. But like I said, I really wish they would have shown more of Mike and like
Mm-hmm.
his fights. And I think that would have added more depth to his character and he would have been more of a threat even.
Yeah.
Where and we talked about when we talked about the third one that the actor Sean Kanan or Kanan or whatever the heck you say his name, um, he actually had like a green belt in karate, so like he was a little more believable than some of the other characters. Uh, so I wish they would have shown some of that,
Mm-hmm.
other than just the times where he beat up Daniel and tried to fight with Mr. Miyagi. I wish they would have shown him just like dominant in a tournament.
Yeah. And outside of the little training that they had in there, really the only karate was at that tournament.
Yeah, for the
Like,
most part. I mean, like in a little bit of training that Daniel did with Terry Silver.
yeah,
That's pretty much
but
it.
I'm but if you go back to the original Karate Kid, you had the fighting where Johnny would fight, Daniel did some stuff. There was some back and forth a little bit, and then there was like the truce or whatnot until the end. So you saw karate, you know, throughout the whole thing in little spurts. But yeah, Karate Kid 3, there was definitely the intimidation factor of where Mike Barnes was going around and, trying to pick a fight, but there was no actual fighting. There was no karate. There was no, beating the crap out of somebody. So I feel like that just kind of takes even more karate feel out of the Karate Kid movie. So
There's just as much rock climbing in the third one as there is karate.
yes, multiple scenes of rock climbing. That is
Yeah.
very true.
So if you're really into rock climbing, man, Karate Kid 3 is the movie for you.
Karate Kid 3 considered cliffhanger 2.0.
Eh.
Not quite. That might be a stretch.
Oh man. So I guess another thing I can mention is how easily they kind of brushed off some characters, like from the previous movies. And the second one, where we get that like exposition from Daniel saying Allie left him for some quarterback from UCLA, and it was like, okay, let's just get rid of that character because she was a really likable character, and I'll talk about her later too, when we talk about other things. Um, and I don't know, just none of them seem to like live up to that character of Allie. Like none of the other girls. And I like Jessica in part three a lot because I thought her character had a lot of depth, and it was a nice change that she was just Daniel's friend and not like a girlfriend or a love interest.
Yeah.
Or like nothing against Kumiko in the second one, but like I said when we reviewed that, it's just kind of dumb that they're like all lovey-dovey with each other and talking about their future, but she lives in Okinawa and he lives in California, and he's just there visiting for like a week.
Yeah. And then we talked too in that movie review where it was really funny where she left before the tournament and then that was it. Like
Yeah,
she's
it's like,
gone.
yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. I'm not gonna even stick around to be able to see you in your fight. So yeah, that was always funny. Yeah, they just said that um Allie left, Kumiko decided to go to the dance school, and
Yeah,
then
in Japan.
yeah. And then it was Robin. Was that her? Oh, okay. Is that the character's name or is that the actress's name?
That's the actress, Jessica.
Oh, Jessica.
Yeah, Robin Lively.
Yeah. Jessica then just disappears before even
Yeah,
the end of the.
I can't remember. Did Oh yeah, she was there. I was gonna ask you if Daniel's mom showed up in part three, but she was there on a phone call because she asked if Kumiko was coming too.
Yeah, she wasn't in part 2, was she?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
They
I didn't.
just mentioned her was all.
Yeah. So, and then part 3 or the next Karate Kid, of course, takes on a different turn with Hilary Swank, and so her love interest. Uh, I don't have it pulled up, but he stuck around, but then he was got beat up all the time.
Yeah, what the heck was his name?
I want to
Eh,
say Chad, but I know that's wrong.
That's what I was thinking too. He just looked like a Chad, but not like a douchey Chad, just like some dude named Chad.
Yeah, Eric.
Eric, yeah, and he was another short name.
His actual name is Chris, so maybe that's why I was thinking
Okay.
it was Chad. So yeah, good stuff, man. So yeah, the series overall. I mean, like, oh man, if somebody came to me and was like, had no interaction with the Karate Kid series and everything, I would just tell them watch the first one, don't bother watching the other ones.
I don't know about that. Like, I would watch, if somebody was interested in it, I'd say, yeah, watch the first one. If you liked that and you want to see more, watch the second one. Um, I enjoy the second one for what it is. I would just, say there's not as much like karate training, but like the acting's still pretty decent in it, and it's just kind of a decent continuation of the series. And then it's like the third one. I mean, if you want to watch it, go for it, but it's not great.
No,
And then the
no,
next Karate Kid, I would just say steer clear of it.
no, not getting my recommendations. Uh, but not that bad. But I mean, like so if somebody was just talking about, I mean, that's really honestly what I would be like. I would just be like, yeah, watch the first one, and then, I mean, if they go past that, that's on them.
Yeah.
But if they wanted to, if they were talking about the Cobra Kai series, which we'll probably transition to here in just a little bit, I would say you definitely would need to see the first three. I think it'd be important to watch the first three.
Yeah, because there's little things from each of them that kind of come
Yeah.
back in a Cobra Kai.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think part two would be the most, like, they would at least need to see the first one and the second one. Part three hasn't had so many references, but
yeah, and I think maybe they're getting to that. But
hmm
you want to talk about Cobra Kai
um yeah, do we want to do kind of our
movie ranking?
awards and things like that before we talk about Cobra Kai, or do we want to do that at the end of the episode?
Yeah, let's just do our rankings and our awards, and then we'll talk about Cobra Kai
Okay,
because
sounds good.
those aren't Cobra Kai's not involved in these. So
Yeah,
let's do it.
sounds good. I will let you take the lead on that then.
All right. Um, so I guess we'll just start with rankings. This one was really easy, compared to when we did Friday the 13th, because, I told you when we got into that it's kind of up and down in that series,
Hmm.
where Karate Kid starts up super high and then, like, just goes down from there.
Yeah.
Uh, obviously for me, I'll give my rankings here. Karate Kid, the first one, is the best one. Yeah, I'll give that 5 rocks. Karate Kid 2, I'm always kind of in between like a 3.5 and a 4 because I don't know what it is about that movie, but I enjoy it. And it's one of those that anytime it's on TV, I have to watch it.
Yeah, you gave it a 4 originally.
Yeah, I think I'll stick with the 4. It's not a great movie, but and especially compared to like the first one, it's not amazing by any means, and it's definitely not nearly as good. But as like an 80s teen movie, I'd say it's above average.
Hmm.
And then Karate Kid 3 is my next one. I give that a 2.5. Uh, I it's one of those movies that is so like ridiculous and over the top with the acting and the story and all that goes into it that it's entertaining. I definitely know that it's not a good movie even. Uh, Actually, the guys that do Mystery Science Theater did a Riff Tracks live on it.
Okay.
So where they like make fun of the movie. So it's definitely like one of those. Uh, it kind of falls in that weird area of this isn't good and I don't want to watch it, and this is so bad that it's good. It doesn't reach the levels of like something like Miami Connection,
Hmm.
but the acting from Ralph Macchio and Pat Morita kind of push it up higher than where it really should be at.
Yeah.
And obviously the last one is the next Karate Kid. I give that a 1, and I'm sticking with the 1. I've watched it twice, and unfortunately I own it because when I bought it, I think it was like that was like in the infancy of Netflix.
uh
And back when Netflix was mostly just DVDs that you could order in the mail, and they had like a few movies streaming. Uh, it seems like you could always find the other Karate Kid movies like streaming somewhere, or you could easily find them in a store. And like the next Karate Kid, I could never find anywhere. And I'm like, okay, I've watched the other three, and I probably should just watch this fourth one just to complete the series. So I think I ordered it off Amazon for it was under $10, so I didn't like spend too much. I watched
But
that DVD once, and then when we watched it for uh the review, I watched it on Netflix. So
so you got a $10 coaster.
yeah, pretty much. It's not a movie that I'm gonna return to.
Yeah. Well, we were pretty close in the rankings because I the original Karate Kid 5 out of 5 rock easy. I took a steeper plunge after the first one, and I went down to 3.5 for part two, and then a 1.5 point drop for part three, dropping it to uh, 2 out of 5. And we were both the same with 1 out of 5 for the next Karate Kid. So the steady decline.
Yeah, and man, I guess that's kind of the way a lot of series go. Outside of like the horror genre, I guess, because I'm trying to think of other series that are.
Well, the original trilogy, Star Wars trilogy, Empire
Yeah,
Strikes
I guess
Back is
those are all kind
often,
of great though.
yeah, true.
But I mean, a lot of people say that Empire is the best one. I was
Yeah,
always a big Jedi fan, and a lot of people think that out of the original three, that's the worst.
yeah, it is
I
kind of
don't.
interesting. They're all great, so it's kind of hard to like differentiate.
Then you got your outliers like Terminator, where like a lot of people think the second one's better than the first one.
Hmm.
I guess another series that we talked about doing in another time is the Ninja Turtles series. That's a kind of a steady.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much after part two, but we'll get at that when we eventually cover those.
Hmm.
So I guess we can get on into our awards. We have 5 categories this time. We did this with the Friday 13th series too, and it's kind of just something fun that we do after covering the whole series. So the first one is favorite villain. So who's your favorite villain out of the whole series?
I don't know if I would label it necessarily as favorite, but I feel like the most iconic villain, the one that I've kind of stuck with me the most from watching these as a kid, was Chosen.
Okay.
Yeah, like I mean, you remember Johnny obviously, and then you remember John Kreese. I mean, uh that's easy. I mean, they'll always be there, and I think John Kreese would be right behind Chosen, but I went with Chosen just because, like, I don't know, like it kind of stuck with me when I was a kid. I was just like, man, he went insane. Like he was gonna kill him.
Yeah, that's
What
he's the
world is
easily
this?
easily the most evil
Yeah.
villain of the series, I would say.
So just to the extent that he took it, it just stuck with me. So not saying necessarily that he had the greatest performance or anything, but the villain that stuck with me from this series, from when I originally watched it when I was a kid, even to now, was Chosen. So that's the one I chose for
That's the one
the
you have chosen.
for the villain. So what's yours?
Mine is pretty easy. I picked Johnny.
Okay.
I don't know that the character he's William Zabka in the 80s was just like that pompous like jerk in almost every movie he was in. He had just the super punchable face, and he was just one of those guys that's just like he's better than you and he knows it.
But he's
Uh,
the hero.
yeah, I was gonna say in a Karate Kid series, he can. It's kind of a gray area if he's like really a villain or not. Uh, and we get to see more of that in Cobra Kai too. And that Cobra Kai only like makes me like the Johnny character more.
Mhm.
I would say probably the best villain of the whole series is probably John Kreese.
Mhm.
He's the most consistent, but I think the most memorable and like my favorite would probably have to be Johnny.
Okay. A little bit surprised. I totally get that because I kind of feel like that's the way I went with Chosen. But I thought you were going to go John Kreese, but it sounds like you're just like me where he's like right there second. So,
Yeah.
Rock.
And our next one is favorite female character. This, could cover really any female character of merit in the entire series. It's 1 through 4. So, who is yours?
It's got to be Daniel's mom. No, just kidding. No,
Mrs. So,
oh man. Which I was a little surprised. Well, I guess I wouldn't be too shocked, but I was a little surprised to see her in the Cobra Kai series. But, yeah. So definitely for me, it was between two, but I think the one that just kind of stood out to me the most was Jessica from Part 3.
okay.
So and so I guess doing kind of honorable mention or the close second was definitely Allie, because I mean, that's the Karate Kid, iconic.
Yeah.
You remember everybody from that one.
Yeah.
So who was yours?
Oh, that's a good call on Jessica. She's my honorable mention because I don't know what it is. Just Robin Lively is just a really likable person. I feel like, because I've watched Teen Witch before too, and she's the main character in that, and she's really similar as she is in Karate Kid 3, and it's just one of those movies you're watching, you're like, I like this person. She just seems kind of cool, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like laid back and chill and dorky,
Yeah.
but not like annoying. But um, I would say that my favorite female character is Allie.
Okay.
Um, just I feel like she has the most depth of any of the characters, and I feel like she's the best actress of like all the female characters in the movies.
That's
Maybe.
fair.
Well, I mean, if we're counting now, then obviously Hilary Swank is like the best actress like in this entire series, like actress
Yeah.
of anybody. Uh, but I mean, for like the time, like when they were in these movies, I think
Mm-hmm.
she's probably the best.
Yeah, that's what I figured you were saying.
Yeah, and I mean, even though she leaves him for a UCLA quarterback, I was trying to think of who was like a UCLA quarterback around that time, and the only one that kept coming to mind is Troy Aikman.
Well, at
It
least she
was
didn't leave him for
mostly
an
around
Ohio
that
State
time.
quarterback.
Yeah, that's true. Unless it was Shane Falco or Johnny Utah, the only good Ohio State quarterbacks.
Then that would have been okay.
Yeah. Um, I'm not even sure if it would have been Troy Aikman because I think he went to Oklahoma and then transferred to UCLA for his senior
No.
year, something like that. But yeah, we're not talking about football. But yeah, I'd say Allie's is my favorite female character. And you joked about Daniel's mom, but she was a likable character too, and I thought she did a good job.
Oh yeah. I was being a little bit serious about that. She did well, and she was, I mean, a memorable character.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
I mean, memorable enough that they brought her back in Cobra Kai. So
yeah.
okay, and then the next one we have, we're sticking with characters, and who is your favorite overall character for the entire series? Like any character you can choose.
Ah, man, I think so many people are going to land on this, and you know how I feel about some of the other characters. So it really was easy for me to land on Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah,
I mean, if Mr. Miyagi was, I cannot imagine. Of course, I was not well versed in the actors during this time, but I cannot possibly imagine anyone else performing that role and this movie coming across as well as it did. So, I mean, he just did a fantastic job. And as you mentioned, the mentor mentee relationship and life lessons. Just Mr. Miyagi easily for me on this one. So I'm not sure where you're deciding to go, or
Yeah, Mr. Miyagi for sure. Um, the you know just the wise old man giving advice to like the young punk kid, and keeping him centered with everything, not even just his karate but like his whole personal life, and getting him through tough situations in life and in his karate. And just like the subtleness that Pat Morita used while playing Mr. Miyagi. Like, I don't know if you ever really heard him speak outside of these movies. If you watched Happy Days and saw him on there, or just like saw him in interviews. Um,
no, not really.
like he spoke like perfect English. Like he did not have like that thick Japanese accent, and like his way of speaking wasn't anywhere near what Mr. Miyagi's was. And his he was a comedian, and it's obvious because although he plays the Mr. Miyagi role very seriously, and he was nominated for an Oscar in the first movie,
Hmm.
but he gets some of those lines in there and they're delivered just perfectly. And the one I always come back to is when he saves Daniel from the Cobra Kai guys, and Daniel's like, "Wow, I didn't know you know karate," and he's like, "Well, you never asked," and he's like, "What?" It's like, "What belt do you have?" And he looks down. He's like, "J.C. Penney, $3.99." Like that makes me laugh almost every time I hear it. It's just the way he delivers it, and just I don't know, his comedic chops were so great.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of a perfect thing to move into one of the next awards.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mentioned a quote, so we're gonna go with favorite quote from the series. So what do you got?
Well, I think I'm gonna have to go with just a classic, maybe the classic. What I feel like has to be in the top two for everybody, at least the top five. Um, but one of the most recognizable ones, and that is wax on, wax off.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I know there's not a lot of weight to it, but it's just that iconic. Like you could have wax on, wax off, just those words, black type, white piece of paper, or anywhere. Everybody knows what that is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just how impactful that was from the movie. So,
It's one of those, it's like you've never, even if you've never seen the movie, you know what that's from. Like Hasta La Vista, baby.
yeah. Yep. There are a couple others with that too that maybe I'll bring up after I wait and see what you mentioned. But another one, and I know that you're not going to say this is your favorite one, so I'm going to say it here as kind of like an honorable mention. But it's a part of the movie that sticks out to me a lot, and I think it's partially the delivery. But you just never really forget it. Is when Johnny's friend yells at the tournament, "Get him a body
Like
bag!"
that was mine.
What? No.
Yes.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, and that line was totally just ad-libbed.
Oh, seriously.
Yeah, it was all improv.
Dude, no way. Like, I am shocked that that's really the one that you're going for. Like, I
Yeah,
was so
that one
convinced.
that one the first time I saw this movie and that guy yelled it, I just like started laughing. I'm like, calm down, dude. Uh,
Wow. I never really guessed it. That's funny.
Get him a body bag.
And then that laugh,
Mm-hmm.
man, I can't even try to mimic that.
Oh gosh.
I thought for sure you would have gone with, maybe one of, well, I thought you were going to maybe even just say the Mr. Miyagi belt thing was yours or one of his lessons or something.
No, I think the get him a body bag is one that always like sticks out to me.
Yeah. Or actually, no. This is one. This is another one. I thought you were going to use "Sweep the Leg."
Oh yeah, that's another really popular one you see on a lot of t-shirts and stuff.
Yeah, because I was going to say you could put that. You could put "Sweep the Leg," those words on anything, no context. People know exactly what that means. So that's when you have a good quote, and especially short ones like "wax on, wax off," 4 words. "Sweep the leg," 3 words. You know
Yep.
what movie those are from.
You will lose. If he dies, he dies.
You are next.
You are next. No T.
Oh no.
Oh gosh. So the last one I have, we mentioned music a lot in these movies. So what is your favorite song in the series?
Man, I even have said this before. I think you're a little bit more well versed in the soundtracks than I am, but I really can't get past the original theme from the Karate Kid. Like basically everything. Well, it seems like. No, I guess they were spread around a little bit. I was gonna say I thought almost everything I was doing for the awards was coming from the first movie, but I mean I got to go with the original theme song. Um, You're the best. I, you still hear it all the time.
Yeah,
It,
I mentioned that I heard it in Kroger one day.
yeah, I do. I'm online for a lot of people with like live streams and things like that, and people use that sound bite um, from the chorus a lot, and you see it in video clips, YouTube videos, and stuff like that. So you can't beat it, man.
Yeah, it's a classic for sure, and a great montage song.
Hmm.
And I love myself a montage. I mean, that's probably why I like the Rocky movies so much. Um, man, I I had down You're the Best as well. I mean, it's obvious. It's probably the most recognizable song. Like, as soon as you hear that, you're like, oh, Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Uh, I'll just mention a couple other ones. Man, Cruel Summer by Bananarama. That was a big deal in the 80s.
Hmm.
And I can, every time I hear that, I always picture Daniel riding his bike with a black eye going to school. You riding his bike by the buses and everything.
Hmm.
Another one is the song Young Hearts by Commuter. And that's in the first movie. And it's just because the song is like the lyrics are so ridiculous. If you guys, if you don't know what I'm talking about, bring up that song and just listen to it. It's 80s in a nutshell because like the beat to it is good and it sounds like so cliche for an 80s song and the lyrics like are pretty much nonsense.
Everybody needs to go and check that out now.
Young hearts die young when they're all alone and there's no turning back now. Like what? And the last one I'll mention is the Peter Cetera song "Glory of Love" from Karate Kid 2. That one, it's 80s cheese at its best, and every time I hear it on the radio, it makes me laugh. It's like, oh, Karate Kid 2, the most sentimental of all the Karate Kid movies, the most romantic of the Karate Kid movies. It just kind of ridiculous. They really played up like the relationship, love story in that movie. Uh, the song still kind of just stands out a little bit because it doesn't really mesh all that great for the second movie. It's almost like how Kiss from a Rose was like the big song from Batman Forever.
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
You didn't
but yeah,
mention,
if I'm picking my favorite song, it's gonna be "You're the Best."
yeah. I feel like that's probably like 95% of people would choose that. But you didn't mention the Cranberries and
Yeah,
Dreams?
yeah, but
How
that's one of
dare you?
those. I've only watched the next Karate Kid twice, so I always forget that that song's in the movie.
Yeah. I
Uh,
totally forgot it when I rewatched it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best part of the movie.
and like Karate Kid 3, the only song I remember from it is that Little River Band song at the end. that listen to your heart. And then it makes me laugh because it's Little River Band, and that was like Will Ferrell's jam and the other guys. To get psyched up, you listen to
America.
gotta listen to some LRB.
Oh man.
Oh gosh. So that is all I have for awards.
Yeah, that wraps it up for us, I think, for the Karate Kid movie series.
Yeah. Do you want to get into Cobra Kai, or do you want me to, because I watched the remake.
Um, if you want to, you can
Yeah,
spend
I'll touch
however
on it
many.
real quick.
Yeah,
Um, I had like no expectations going into that, and when they came out with that movie, I was like, why are they doing this? I will say, like, the dumbest thing about it, it's called the Karate Kid, but he doesn't do karate. He does kung fu.
oh my gosh.
Because it takes place in China, and like Jackie Chan is his instructor, and Jackie Chan's not a karate man. He's a kung fu artist.
True.
Um, but I will say, Jaden Smith did a pretty good job as like the quote unquote Daniel character. His name's Dre in it. Basically, like him and his mom moved to China from Detroit because his mom gets her job gets like sourced to China, so she decides to move her and Dre out there. Uh, and while he's there, he's having a hard time fitting in because it's like the only black kid that speaks English in the entire school, and he gets picked on by like these kids from a kung fu school, and he's getting like beat up and everything, and then Mr. Han, who's like the Mr. Miyagi character played by Jackie Chan, saves him, and then they enter a tournament where they're gonna fight. Similar to the original, but there's a few things that are changed, so I kind of appreciate that. The training scenes are pretty cool, and I wasn't sure about Jackie Chan when I first heard it announced as the Mr. Miyagi character, but he was awesome in that.
Oh,
And
good.
now that I look back at it, it makes sense because Jackie Chan is the kind of actor you kind of need for that role, where obviously martial arts expert does like a lot of amazing stuff in his movies, but at the same time he can do comedic acting.
Oh, for sure.
And he was very good at kind of capturing what Pat Morita did in the original, where he's serious, but he's kind of like a smart aleck, and he has a really dry sense of humor.
Hmm.
And his training techniques are a little bit different, but at the same time, kind of reminiscent of the original movie. Yeah, if you get a chance, check it out. I enjoyed it. It's a kind of a long movie. It's like 2.5 hours.
Really? Mm.
Yeah. Um, I mean, the music is kind of dated, but man, the music for the original movies is dated too. So it's definitely rooted in like that mid to late 2000s feel.
Nice.
But yeah, a lot of cool scenery, a lot of cool training stuff, and the fighting is great because Jaden Smith is an athlete.
Yeah,
Like
I
he
would
do a lot of
imagine that.
pretty athletic things. So, and now he's not really like the best actor, but like as a kid, he was a pretty good actor. You kind of saw it in like Pursuit of Happiness, and you can really see like the influence of his dad in him, and
Rock.
like some of his body language and his comedic timing,
Mm.
and kind of coming off as like a confident kid, maybe a borderline a little cocky, but still likable at the same time. And I mean,
Don't get
that's kind of how Will came off in like Fresh Prince and stuff.
don't get cocky. Yeah, I kind of did wonder that. I mean, it was hard to tell from what they had in the trailer for sure if since Jaden Smith was definitely more of an athlete than um Ralph Macchio,
Yeah.
if the fighting was going to be 1,000 times better or anything like that. So, no,
Yeah. I
that's
mean, you get
interesting
to
to
see
see.
some really cool Jackie Chan fights in there too, where
Hey,
he
that's always
fights off like all the kids from the Kung Fu. group, but he doesn't like. He just uses defense against them and uses like their own momentum. It's pretty awesome
Nice.
because he doesn't want no trouble.
Leave me alone.
Pretty
Leave
much.
leave
Like he
Jaden
uses a
Smith
kid's
alone.
jacket. He uses a kid's jacket to like deter them from like attacking him. I don't know. He gets like two kids
Spoiler.
tied up in one jacket. Not really too much of a spoiler, but
I'm just kidding.
yeah. I know how much you love Jackie Chan, so you should definitely check it out.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah. I need to watch more of his movies again. So, all right, no, good to mention. So, jump into Cobra Kai.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so real quick, if anybody's hanging out here and you have not watched Cobra Kai and you are not interested in spoilers, you might not want to listen to the end part of this episode because it might come up. No guarantees that we're going to be spoiler free. So actually, I can think of a couple things that will probably be spoiled. So be forewarned.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he dies. No, I'm just kidding.
Daniel-san dies. Mr.
So,
Miyagi comes back as a zombie.
oh man. So one thing that I saw that was really interesting because I think we talked about this in one of the reviews. I think it was Karate Kid Part 3. That Ralph Macchio was kind of done with the Karate Kid.
Yeah.
He didn't really want to do Part 3. I think that actually kind of contributed to my dislike of him in Part 3 because he really came across douchey, and maybe it was partially because of how he felt about the movie. So he was approached to do movies. I think he was approached about doing other shows and things like that too. So Cobra Kai didn't come around. The only reason why he agreed to Cobra Kai was because the emphasis is more on Johnny than it is on Daniel. And so I saw something where he said that is what drew him into it and made him agree to it because it's not solely dependent on Daniel, where it's more about Johnny. And so Daniel's kind of taking a back seat. So, I just felt like mentioning that at the beginning because I thought that was kind of cool to see. Because yeah, Cobra Kai, I did not. Just for context with me, I did not jump into it until probably, I think it was back in December that I started watching it. Maybe it was November to get ready for season 3 coming out. I think I started in November and I finished, right after the new season came out. So I was able to watch all 3 kind of back to back to back. And I gotta say, like, super impressed. It was kind of nice that I didn't get, I always don't like getting bombarded with, oh my gosh, this is so good. You have to see it, blah, blah, blah. So since I was so far removed from the first season and when people probably obsessed over it, I was able to go in with kind of a clear mindset.
Well, it's one of those shows because it started off on YouTube Red, which is like now it's called YouTube Premium.
Yeah.
And when I saw the trailer for it, I'm like, oh, this looks great because I love Karate Kid, but I wasn't gonna pay for YouTube,
Yeah, just for
And then once it got added to Netflix, I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna watch it. So like the first 2 seasons were on YouTube, paid, and then like I already had Netflix, so when they added like those 2 seasons, then eventually came out with a third not too long ago, I watched it on there.
Yeah. Yeah, did you have any I didn't even know what to expect going in. Like
I really didn't either, and I was like pleasantly surprised with that first season when I saw that it was focusing more on Johnny and like his struggles, since everything that happened in the original movie with the tournament and all that kind of stuff, and just like the way he was continuing his life. And man, like just watching the 3 seasons, it really made me like respect the acting ability of William Sapka.
Yeah.
Like I always thought he played a good villain in movies and stuff, but I never realized like wow, he can act pretty well. because he shows like a lot of emotion through the series.
I agree.
And he's funny, and he can be he's serious, and you can like feel any pain or anger that he has as well. So like, he emotes very well in the series.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was very pleasantly surprised by how it was, because I was just like, didn't know what to expect. As some things progressed, there were a few more things that popped up that were not, I don't want to say unrealistic, but kind of maybe made my eyes roll a little bit, some of the choices that they made. But I mean, all in all, like, it's kind of like minor nitpicky things more so. I mean, just kind of like some of the dynamic that they have for it being in high school, and then like, oh, I'm going to be trained by you. Oh, I'm going to switch to training with you, and oh, back and forth. And
Mm.
but then again, at the same time, I'm kind of like, it is high school, so I mean, that's kind of what high school kids can do, where they're very, you know,
Wishy-washy.
yeah, wishy-washy, back and forth, indecisive. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, some good stuff there. Some of it was a little bit like, for instance, this is some that made me roll my eyes. So slight spoiler stuff coming up is just how, later on, the popular kids are hanging out with the unpopular kids, and they're like getting in relationships, and
Yeah.
oh, warm, happy, fuzzy feelings. I'm just like, okay, I don't really care what happens. It could be the end of the world, and all the popular kids are not going to make peace with the unpopular kids like this.
Yeah, and man, a lot of this is reminiscent of like soap operas
Yeah.
where they take like normal everyday things that are could be like insignificant in real life and then make them the most serious thing in the world.
Hmm.
Where it's like, their world will end if karate doesn't exist.
It'll ruin their lives.
And I'm gonna try to kill you because um, you're in a different karate school than I am, and we have beef with each other, so I'm gonna try to kill you.
Yeah, you betrayed us. I'm going to break your arm.
Yeah.
I'm like, what in the world? Like, I mean, nothing has ever possessed my mind, like entered my mind to go into something with the thought process of breaking someone's bone.
It
Like,
could
I
be
mean,
like Mike Barnes and just wants to let Daniel fall off a cliff because he won't fight him in a karate tournament.
true. Now it does make it something that makes more sense to me would be like, hey, I took your rope, haha, you're stuck down there. Not necessarily thinking of the end where you're probably gonna die, because who knows who you're out here.
Yeah.
That makes a little bit more sense to me than being there and being like, hey, I'm calling you out. You need to come out here and help your friend. Otherwise, I'm going to break their arm. And then they actually break it. I'm like, what? Like,
They twist
wow.
his arm.
I know high school's twisted, but dang, that is dark twisted.
Yeah, and man, I mean, before I guess we get too far, there's a lot of recurring characters and there's new characters. I mean, obviously the recurring ones we get Daniel and Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what we start off with in the first season, and we get to see Daniel's family, his wife, and his daughter, and a son that never returns. You notice that?
He returned.
He had a son in like the first season. He was there a little bit in the second season, but I never saw him once in the third season.
Wasn't he in the third? I thought he showed up in the third season and it was a different kid.
Oh, I don't know.
Like, he took a season, I think he took season 2 off, and then he came back in season 3 and he was like a different kid.
Oh, I guess I didn't pay too close attention because they don't really focus on him at all.
Yeah, no. And it's funny too, because Daniel LaRusso doesn't really care about, I mean, like, they show that he kind of cares, but he's all about his daughter.
Oh yeah, because she's a lot like him.
Yeah.
Or, she's the one that learned karate and everything from him. So that's more of his focus. And Johnny has a son too, Robbie, who's like his estranged son.
Hmm.
Um, he kind of comes along there at the probably halfway through the first season, and he actually gets trained by Daniel. And not to give like too much spoilers, but like he fights in the tournament at the end of the first season.
Yeah. And I thought that was great. That tournament was great.
Oh yeah, for sure. That
It
was
is
the
it is real
highlight of the first season, I'd say.
yeah, it is really funny though that for it being the All Valley tournament, it's really small.
Yeah. And this is in Los Angeles, the second largest city in America.
Like I'm pretty sure if they had a karate tournament that had any scale to it in the region that I live in, they would have at least that many. And
Yeah,
I
that's what
can
I was gonna say. Like, what is this like the Saginaw Valley karate tournament?
exactly.
all the
So
karate, all the karate students from Saginaw, Bay City, and Midland. That would
and
probably equal up to what was in this tournament.
yeah, no kidding. So yeah, so this definitely gonna lead into a spoiler. Who was your favorite? I feel like, and you may have to correct me, there are four main people outside of no, five, I guess. Outside of Daniel and Johnny, five main people who reappear from the original movies. Who like do you have a favorite? Do you have one that surprised you the most?
So you mean like the five
Because
recurring from the original? Like
from the
you're talking
original
like
movies, because you've got Daniel's mom, you've got
John
Kumiko,
Kreese?
you've got Allie, John Kreese, and Chosen. Am I missing anyone?
Yeah, you got Johnny's friends, the original Cobra Kai guys.
Oh, yep,
All of
yep,
them showed up except for Steve McQueen's son,
yeah,
Chad McQueen. I think
Chaz,
he refused to do it,
schmuck.
but
Yeah. So yeah, so out of those five, like, was there one that you liked the most, or one that surprised you? Well, I guess in general, what were your reactions to being able to see them?
uh, I think the most surprising ones were like the original guys that were part of Cobra Kai that came back. Um, the one that had cancer, like he had cancer in real life and passed away.
Yeah, I saw that they had that
And
in
I believe
memory
he
of.
wasn't he the get him a body bag guy.
I think so. I was trying
I'm
to
pretty
pick up
sure
on
he
that.
was. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he was. Um, yeah, I'd say that's the most surprising. I guess I really wasn't expecting Daniel's mom to come back either. Um, but I'd say like my favorite. I mean, it's obvious it's John Kreese, Martin Cove coming back as John Kreese.
Yeah.
Just and I mentioned this when we did the movies that I feel like his acting in the Cobra Kai series is like leaps and bounds better than it was in the original movies. And like I thought he was great in the first movie.
Yeah, he was cheesy in part three.
Oh, for sure. And then I mean part two, he just kind of had that small part at the beginning of it, but he is like almost diabolical in Cobra Kai.
Yeah. Oh man, gotta hate him so much.
Yeah, and yeah, he's just so good in this show.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I kind of forgot because I didn't even mention them about the Cobra guys, Kai guys returning.
Hmm.
Um, one of my favorite returns was Chosen because of the funny dynamic that they played off of that.
Yeah.
That was good, and that was just kind of like entertaining, and it was like some of that training stuff, some of that karate, throwback to original Karate Kid stuff. That was really great.
How about the
Um,
return of the young girl that Daniel saved from the bell tower?
yeah.
That was the actual actress. Did you know that?
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I kind of didn't include her because I was just like, it was such a small part, but
Oh, yeah, it's just kind of cool that they brought her back just for that small spot.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I think impactful one was Allie.
Yeah, because I think originally she didn't want to do it,
Hmm.
and they weren't even sure that they were going to be able to get her at the end of season two. But then once it got picked up by Netflix, I think that made her realize, this is maybe a big deal.
Yeah.
So, why not? I'll come back and do it. And they got Elizabeth Shue to come back and reprise the role for the show.
Yeah, that was great. I think that one was a big one. Like, if you had to say which in list of importance, I would say John Kreese was the first important one to get, and then Allie was the next important because
Yeah.
she kind of had a pivotal thing, and I think it set up for how season 3 ended was because of her involvement. But yeah, it was fun to see that, and I I've said this before, and this just kind of leans into it, like I enjoy the character of Johnny more than I do Daniel. Like
Yeah.
overall, from the whole thing, from the show and the movies. Like the original movie, Daniel, okay, cool, got it. But like after that, it's just like I kind of get more and more annoyed with him through the movies. In the TV, in Cobra Kai, not too bad, but he and they do. I honestly believe they do it purposely and everything. But like the personality that he takes on and everything is just annoying and obnoxious to me, and you see it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I just kind of like, and like I said, I believe they're purposely doing this. I don't know if it's just my own take and everything, but like Johnny's grown and Daniel had I mean, which is ironic because they allude to at the beginning. Like Johnny had the money at the beginning and should have had anything and everything that I wanted, but then life took a turn for the worse. Daniel had nothing, but he had like the strong relationships and everything, and things took off for him. But then,
Mm-hmm.
like, I feel like he's still the douchey kid from the '80s.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Johnny is still kind of like a high school jock douche for a
Yeah,
better
he's
term.
one of those guys that um peaked in high school.
Yeah, but he grows. Like you see it, you see him rise, you see him fall, you see these different things. I was really glad um when he had to make a decision between two individuals that he made the decision that he did.
Yeah.
Not to specifically call that out, but I was kind of ruined for him to make a good choice with that. So yeah, I mean, like, I just then going back and thinking about the original Karate Kid, I'm just like, I'm a Johnny fan, like Daniel kind of sucks sometimes, a lot of
You
times.
gonna start watching Iron Eagle a whole bunch?
Yeah, right.
And
And then
I
Nick,
love how Johnny, all of his favorite stuff is from that time. I mentioned he watched Iron Eagle a whole bunch, and there's one episode where he's wearing a zebra shirt, like the metal band Zebra, which is I remember texting Craig about it because Craig watched Karate Kid quite a bit too, and I told him, it's really cool that they gave that much love from things from that era that Johnny's wearing a zebra shirt and not just the cliche like Def Leppard or Guns N' Roses or something like that, because the amount of people that are gonna understand even what the heck zebra is is pretty slim.
yeah, that got past me. So
Yeah, when I saw that, I'm like, is he wearing a zebra shirt?
yeah, so I mean, just they really honestly did a fantastic job with it. I mean, like it's there are no perfect movies. There are no perfect shows. There are things definitely that I can nitpick about. And we haven't even talked about the main content of the show, which is actually like the kids, the
Yeah,
next
that's
generation of Karate Kids.
well, I guess I mean they're kind of like a side story to it. What this show is, it's a love letter to the people that love the original series. So this is like a show that preteens could watch with their parents
Mm-hmm.
because their parents are going to appreciate the old characters and all the references to stuff from that time, while the preteens are going to enjoy the teenage drama and all the stuff going on with the kids in the show.
Yeah.
So it's really like, kind of like a family show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and some of the kids in it are pretty good. Some of them are like a little annoying. I don't know what it is about that Hawk guy, but I just want to punch him in the face. Like he's just obnoxious. Like even right from the
No,
get-go.
not Hawk,
Yeah, he just
dude.
drives me nuts. I'm like, that kid is just annoying.
Man, I mean, like, okay, like most of the time, I enjoy the Hawk character. There are a couple that a couple times. Well, I mean, obviously when he kind of like changes his attitude, but
Yeah.
he comes back around and everything. Man, man, like when he started getting annoying, I got disappointed, but he came back around. So just a hater.
Another one that kind of gets under my skin is I can't even think of his name right now, but like the dorky kid that has like the super popular girlfriend in the third season.
Dimitri.
Dimitri, that's his name. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a little
Yeah.
annoying sometimes, but you know who he reminds me of?
Steve.
No.
Oh.
Josh?
Oh, really?
Like Jers? Yeah.
I was thinking
No
Steve
one else is
from.
gonna get that, but Caleb and I.
I
But
was
just like
thinking Steve
looks
from
wise, it kind of
college.
reminds me. Oh, Steve Wyszynski.
Yeah. There you go.
Not to give his last name, but no one will be able to spell that anyway. So,
Yeah. Good
and
luck
I think
spelling.
that's how you say it. But whatever. Um, I don't know, just something about him. Like he's one of those kids that's just like he's awkward and weird, but he's also like strangely confident at the same time.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Sometimes that can be kind of annoying. It just
Hmm.
in real life that can be annoying. Uh, Daniel's daughter in like the first two seasons is kind of shallow, I guess, and not
Yeah.
really like the best like fudged out character. But like in the third season, they really bring her around and she has like more emotion.
Yeah. Um. What? The character that honestly kind of bothers me, like bugs me the most, is Robbie.
Yeah, and I would say he's probably the worst actor of the bunch.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I mean, he's not terrible, but he's definitely at the bottom of the performance list. But part of this too comes into play, not his acting performance, but just kind of like how his character bugs me is because of how he's written. But just like the back and forth, the indecisiveness, and this, and then he's like, "Oh, I hate my dad," and then, "Oh, I love you, Daniel LaRusso, you're awesome," and then, "Oh, I'm Cobra Kai," like straight up.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, what the no? Okay, I know there's some back and forth, but he is like all over the place.
Yeah, and it's to mention if we haven't mentioned it earlier, Robbie is Johnny's like estranged son.
Yeah. So,
Um, yeah, that character is not greatly written, and yeah, he could be kind of annoying at times. I could say that my favorite character of the kids is Miguel.
hmm
He's kind of Johnny kind of takes him under his wing, and that's kind of like the reversal thing where Johnny almost becomes the Mr. Miyagi while Miguel's like the Daniel.
yeah, and he and he sucks at being Mr. Miyagi
Oh
sometimes.
yeah, because he's a complete jerk. Like his heart's in a good place, but he can't help from being just that jerk.
Yeah,
He
but it's
can't help
so
from being a Zabka.
yeah, it's so funny though because like some of the stuff like makes sense where he's just like where especially when he starts the karate classes, Miguel's just like, I think you need to be nice to them. He's like, I'm not gonna be nice to you guys. Is the world nice to you? He's like, no, you gotta know how to like stand up for yourself and blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, it's he takes a little bit too far sometimes, but I mean like it's well put. You get what's going on.
Yeah.
So um yeah, one I think we're might be kind of winding down here, but one thing that I had to mention, I gotta mention an over the top moment. Over the top. You gotta do it every episode. There's always got to be one over the top moment. And while there are several throughout these three seasons, I think the over the top moment for me was in season 3 when one of the One of the kids got thrown through Daniel's window. When that happened, I was like, oh, come on. Dude, it's like in some of the fighting things too, like they extend it out, which is cool. I mean, it's fun. It makes it adds the entertainment factor, but it's just like, dude, one of those solid punches lands, that kid's not getting up.
Oh
Just
no, not at all.
yeah, just one. And they're just like beating down and going back and forth.
Yeah, some like the fight scenes, it's like sometimes it's a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um, I'll say there's another part in the series too where Tori, like Sam's rival in Cobra Kai, has like that claw that she uses, or like she
Yeah.
uses like the spiked bracelet and like cuts her up with it. Like, okay, calm down, bro. And she's like totally an unhinged character too.
Yeah, this isn't prison. Put
Yeah,
put your shank away.
it's not eye for an eye prison rules here.
So yeah, no, but I mean, like, I'm excited for it. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much more than I was expecting to. So yeah.
You want to kind of talk about where we think season 4 is gonna go? Like, touch on that real quick.
Um, yeah, if you want to spearhead that one, I think you might
Yeah.
have more thoughts on that than I do.
So they have like, um, John Kreese is like in charge of Cobra Kai, and then Daniel and Johnny team together. Like all their students decide to form
Eagle Fang.
Eagle Fang Karate and Miyagi Do Karate, go together to try to take out Cobra Kai because the deal is that if Cobra Kai loses, then they have to disband and John Kreese has to leave. We kind of see like the final scene of Johnny and Daniel getting together and agreeing to work together because their two styles really complement each other. Because Johnny's mostly offense, Daniel's like almost solely defense. Um, and then we get a lot of flashbacks of John Kreese, which is awesome in season 3.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, he makes a phone call and he's asking for help, and they show him like looking at a picture, and one of them is obviously Terry Silver. So it'll be interesting if they bring that character back and or Mike Barnes, because I heard that the actor that played Mike Barnes has showed interest in coming back and reprising his role, which would be kind of cool.
Yeah. Looking at the picture, you definitely have to think it's going to be Terry Silver. But because I think we talked about before we started recording, you said that he's no longer acting, right?
Yeah, that Thomas Ian Griffith has retired from acting, and he actually, I'm not sure when he said it. I don't know if it's like in the first 2 seasons that he said he declined coming back. But
Yeah.
from the way they set up season 4 in season 3, it seems like they're gonna bring that character back, and I hope if they do, they get the original guy and they don't just get like somebody else to play him.
Yeah, I would kind of like that. But honestly, at this point, and I've seen some pictures of him, I don't know how recent it is, but he doesn't really look that familiar anymore. Like some of these characters, you put them on screen and you're like, oh, oh, that's Allie. That's easy.
Yeah, because
Um,
she looks the same. She hasn't aged.
yeah, Daniel, hasn't aged. Johnny, you can still tell is Johnny. John Kreese, same thing.
Yeah,
Chosen, like if you saw Chosen in another movie, you might not have been able to pick out that he was from the Karate Kid Part 2.
yeah.
But yeah, so honestly, if they replaced him, people might not notice. I think it'd be cool to have the original people too, but it'll be interesting and to see. So, um, who? What I really think needs to happen sometime before the end of the show
Mm.
is that even if it's just with a cameo, Hilary Swank needs to show up.
She really does.
Even if it's like a funny thing, kind of like what they did in Dodgeball, where Chuck Norris was a judge and they made Hillary Swank a judge for the tournament. Like they didn't even address
Yeah,
her. She's just like there and you take notice of it or not.
yeah. Or if they interview Daniel and be like, "Were you?" or say something like, "You are Mr. Miyagi's only student," and he'd be like, "Well, there was another." They kind of like mention her in passing would be kind of funny. But I could actually see Hilary Swank doing like something small with that because she doesn't seem like ashamed that she was in that movie.
Yeah, dude,
Like she actually seems like rather proud of herself that she was able to do like the physical parts of it.
yeah,
And she has like no problem talking about it 'cause she's done interviews about it.
dude, you know what that totally made me think of when you said Daniel was like, no, there's another,
Yeah.
is Star Wars and Yoda. No, there's another.
Well, Mr. Miyagi is pretty much Yoda.
Basically. So yeah, no, oh gosh, she's gonna come back in season 5 and she's gonna create her own dojo
Oh my
and
gosh.
rival Eagle
It,
Fang.
it's gonna be called like Hawk Karate or something. And um
Angel
they're
Hawk.
gonna dance to they're gonna do a bunch of kata to the cranberries.
Yeah, and catch arrows with their hands and
And
pick
one of the
up.
kids dies trying to do it. Like, well,
um,
this isn't the best training method.
yeah. Wasn't the Hawk's name Angel?
Yes.
Angel Hawk Dojo.
Angel Hawk totally sounds like it'd be an 80s hair band.
It does. That's awesome. I don't know if they would use Hawk though, because that's already Hawk's name in the show.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, no, it'll be interesting. I mean, yeah, I don't know how far they're gonna go. Honestly, when they started and I watched the first season, I thought they were gonna use the tournament as the finale for every season. Like, oh, a year has passed. Now here's another tournament. What's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Because I could totally have seen them. But then that would have moved pretty fast, obviously.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, it's interesting. It's good so far, and yeah, who knows who for sure is going to be coming back. So
Yeah, I really look forward to season 4.
yeah, I have not heard any time frame with that. But anything else to mention with the show as a whole, or
I don't think so. Just yeah, I look forward to season 4 and see if any other characters come back.
yeah, definitely recommended. Rating for the show?
For Cobra Kai,
Yeah,
um, man, I don't know. I enjoy it a lot, and I always get excited when I got excited when season 3 came on. So I'll give it a 5.
rock. Yeah, I definitely went with 5 out of 5. Like you could recommend this to a lot of people, and I think a lot of people would enjoy it because even though Cobra Kai is centered around karate and everything, there's a lot of different elements to it. So
Yeah.
obviously, some people will get it into it more than others, but I've seen some when season 3 came out. I saw a lot of people posting about it that I didn't realize were into it at all. So yeah, it's on Netflix, easily available. So if you haven't checked it out and you like the Karate Kid series, as we said, if you're gonna watch it, probably gonna want to have at least seen Karate Kid and Karate Kid Part 2, maybe even Part 3. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But anything else, man? Or we good?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, be on the lookout, everybody, as the Karate Kid themed shirts will be hitting. We'll be posting on Facebook and our social media here soon. You guys can check our Redbubble where we've got lots of designs, mostly from Brandon, some really cool stuff, movie themed and otherwise. But yeah, we appreciate you hanging out with us this week. And as always, be kind, rewind.